Welcome to Anecdotes for Success with Matt and Paul. Storytelling is an art form, emphasizing the value and learning that is created through personal experience. Our purpose is to share these stories and experiences with the listener. Everyone has a powerful testimony. Let's use them to level up to our best life with truth, meaning, trade-offs, and perspective.
Hey man, it's been a while. Ironically, I get I don't know, it's been a couple months, and I get monthly update emails through Spotify and YouTube, and some of our numbers are growing, and we haven't recorded. So
Shame on us,
it's
right?
yeah. I mean, I'm not talking astronomical, and I'm not even saying how many minutes they listen to, but it got me thinking how much we miss this. I mean, we've still spoke on the phone,
Yeah,
but
of course.
we haven't made time for this, and that's okay if anybody's new and listens to what we talk about. The fact we haven't been podcasting because we're busy doing what we talk about is a
What we
good
talk
thing.
about, right?
But I think we could still go more consistent, smaller episodes and get through it.
Yeah, no, and there's a number of podcasts I listen to when I'm working out or working or whatever, and the ones I always gravitate to are the ones I can count on being there every day. That's just me personally. Like, and if it's one I have to, wait, I find that there's a number of them who I would, and I'm not going to mention them, but I used to absolutely follow religiously have started to fall down the because they're not as consistent as from my lifestyle, my listening desires. So hey, I think there's some congratulations in order though, huh? On your coaching success, your team success. I'm sure you're you wouldn't claim it's your coaching, but it's certainly a part of it. But congrats on what, and I'm not jinxing anything. What has been a wonder. I've been watching from afar, so um, a successful run, but it's not over, and we certainly hope it isn't until you get where you want to go.
Funny, it's my third year, and my goal when I took over was it's sports are so much more than sports.
You always say
And
that.
this is the first year I feel like it's been my culture now, or well, the team culture, but injected through me,
Yeah,
right?
right, right.
People are gone, people are new. And if you can't use, I'm actually creating an online course called the uh, Athletes Platform. And I feel like if you do, I didn't tell you that, we'll talk about that later, but if you do everything right as an athlete and leverage the platform and the lessons you learn, you have such a head start on life than most
Hmm,
people.
hmm.
Sports like at any level, but you're probably better at making connections. You're probably better at talking to people. You're probably better at adversity. You're probably better at stepping outside your comfort zone. And I say
Hmm.
probably because some people just never get there because they're too busy playing victim and whining.
Yeah.
And and I feel like doing that, I mean, I don't have some course in the team or anything, but when you promote how it's a platform for life, I think the wins start getting in the way a little bit
Yeah.
because we just have fun. But yeah, I mean,
Well, it's funny you say that. Just to interrupt you real quick or add to what you were just saying,
yeah,
my wife and I are talking about, our baby's kid is 19 months old now. She's hardly a baby anymore. And how we are just talking about as parents do, well, is she going to play sports? Is she going to like music? Is she going to like art? Whatever, and we certainly don't care, whatever she wants. But one of the things we were talking about with sports was all those lessons, and it's like I so many people just they throw everything they have at their kids being the best at whatever age, I want my kid to get a scholarship or whatever these dreams, and she and I are just like, oh no, whatever. I don't care if she's the worst kid on the team. Is she a good teammate? Does she show up for practice? Does she give it her all? Does she when they're running laps? Is she giving it her all? Is she cutting corners? Is she making sure the coach isn't looking so she can walk? You know what I mean? Like those are the things that determine, because I'm under no disillusionment that she's going to be the next Caitlin Clark or anything. I mean, I'm not putting any limits on her. I would never
Right.
do that. But you get my point. My point is, I don't want my child to do anything so that they can be some superstar. I want her to be a superstar in life. And the lessons you get from sports give you that foundation to be a superstar in life.
Well, if you're as a parent, I mean, from our family's journey, I can't say it's the same from anybody. When my kids started playing soccer, they were afraid of the ball. They just
Mm,
stood there. And I'm like, well, guess this experiment's over. But they had fun. And then they grow up and you gain some confidence or maybe some maturity and coordination, whatever. But the whole point was the plan of the sport, there was no end result. The plan of the sport was because it's sport,
yes.
right?
Yes.
And when you start tying a result to what you're trying to do, it doesn't matter. You know, our friend Kama Fossam's always saying, like, you got to reach for the hanging fruit because if you don't get them on your way down, you'll gather all the other fruit. Like, but you can't just. It's a dangerous game of tying results to it and comparing. We have that. We're a much bigger high school that I coach at, right?
Yep.
So I have some younger kids on the team that don't get a lot of playing time, and then their friends at smaller schools get playing
Yes.
time. There's nothing to compare.
Right. Right. Different world, right?
And we're honest and talk about it. And then when you talk about effort, I got to come back to this and say running laps.
Yeah.
I always start out the year, I have the team run the bases and time them. And then I said, all right, if you don't beat your time, we have to keep running. Well, guess what happens the second time? It's always faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm
They're on
like,
it.
congratulations. You guys all just proved to me you don't always give me your best.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a little bit of a trick setup, right?
Of course, yeah. But it's a lesson. It's a lesson, right?
Just little lessons like that are just
Yeah.
playing time and effort and adversity and, learning to fail and lose. And I mean, if as a parent, if you don't allow that to happen, being cut and playing time and changing sports, and then you don't ask them if they want to keep doing it,
Mm,
it's
mm,
not going to end well. It never does. And I don't
mm.
care what level. It's just
Yeah.
not going to, because I've seen people go to the highest levels in college sports and now they're done and they don't know what to do because their
Yeah.
whole identity has been the sport. The sport's not your identity. The
Right.
lessons learned are. So
Right.
sorry for a little bit of a rant, but you got me
I
going
love
on
it.
this.
I love it. And just real quick, you're number one in the state currently, and you've got basically you're in a position where if you lose, you're done.
Yep.
But you've got potentially 2 games left for state championship. Do I have that
Yeah.
right?
Semis and then finals. And the fun thing, again, not talking about results. I had an epiphany this year as my third year that it doesn't matter what we do all year round. You just have to make your sectional tournament. Now, you want to be ranked certain high, to to have buys. But during the year, we have three pitchers, and our starting pitcher pitched the least amount of innings out of all three pitchers. A little bit
Really?
because some other thing, and she's just a heck of. They're all good athletes,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
but and what's neat now is she starts these playoff games. If something goes wrong or we need a situation, we have complete most confidence in the other two pitchers now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if
Right.
it's not broke, you don't fix it. Everything gets shrunk. And it's
Yeah.
just like Major League Baseball. You need five pitchers to get to the playoffs. You only need three to win the World Series.
Right. Right. Right.
So,
Right.
so you can't like going undefeated during the year, but only have one person or two people pitch doesn't help you.
Not
And
not when you're trying to
failing,
get where you're trying to go, right? For you
yeah.
guys.
So you know what? We're ready. Our philosophy is we worry more about what we can control. And obviously your opponent's going to be very good. We've been scouting them, but we're very good. And if you folks spend more time on what you do instead of more time on what other people do, I think you're all set. So it's been super exciting. That's why I do it. I don't do it for the money, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. So yeah.
Well, congrats, well, but not complete congrats because I'm confident you guys will. Well, hey, you're on a great ride, right? You're on a great adventure, and that won't change regardless of the results. You know, you'll have had a great season and great memories. But I certainly wish you guys the best.
Well, thank you. And I'll end with this. That's what I've been telling the team that you're going to remember this the rest of your life, however it plays out, and
For
that's a
sure.
good thing. But you'll have time to reflect on it all later. Now it's just coaches like to use the word "it's down to business" now, it's not down to business. It's still about having fun for us.
Okay. Okay.
You don't
Yeah.
change, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. So
Yes.
these lessons that I hope the girls on the team are learning, or any team, how how can that help them in the business world or the rest of their life? Let's go from so say
Yeah.
let's just well, not let's just say you are a business owner, an entrepreneur. Uh, what's good if someone gets through sports with the right lessons, are they more likely to be hired by you? I don't mean that like it's a
Yeah.
discriminatory thing, but what positives do they have coming in that, and it could be musicals, plays,
Yeah.
it could be anything else.
Yeah. Right. 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 Well, there's something about team stuff. I won't call it team sports because there's other way. You can be on the marching band, right? And part of a
Yes.
team. You know,
Yep.
there's team things that I find um, are important in what I do because it's a team sport as well, what we do, right? Um, and so for me and for us, and I know plenty of people like this who hire, finding someone who's been involved in team stuff. Um, Oftentimes, not always, and people who aren't always, we got to make some generalizations here. Not everything's the same as we all know, but um, come in with a different type of expectation and attitude of what their role is oftentimes, and meaning they understand it's not just about them. There's their actions affect other people, and your success in it means nothing to me. If you were the star pitcher versus you were on the bench, that from my standpoint, I'm not putting a softball team out there or a basketball team out there. I want good teammates, good people who know that you show up every day, right? You are reliable, and that's why I love sports. I just love them, Paul, because it's like you don't get to cheat the system. So many people want to cheat the system. Oh, well, I didn't show up. Woe is me. I wasn't feeling well. I shouldn't have a consequence to that. Well, go ahead and do that for your basketball team or your softball team or marching band, right? Don't show up to 25% of your marching band practices and see if you're still on the team, or your basketball practices and see if you're in the starting lineup or on the court at all. There are consequences to decisions, and in team stuff, you experience it. And those people come in with such a different, oftentimes, way of viewing their role in the world. Not what everyone owes them, what they owe everybody else, what they owe the team, right? And that is so important. It's work ethic, yes. It's a number of things. It's work ethic, it's reliability, it's accountability, it's knowing that if I don't get back on defense, let's say, the team's going to get hurt, and I'm going to find myself probably on the bench, or worse, my teammates looking at me going, Paul, what the heck? Get back on defense, dude, or we don't need you out here. That to me translates into, did you do the dishes before your teammate came in to take over the next shift? Did you bake the bread right? So there's bread there for your teammates. You know, when you look, we're almost out of onions. Are you going to go cut them, or are you going to leave it for somebody else to do? Those things translate, Paul. So those are the things that I care about, not whether you scored the most points or hit the most home runs. I don't care. Are you a good teammate? In fact, hey, maybe you didn't play a lot and you played 4 years on varsity or whatever. That tells me a lot about your commitment. It tells me a lot about your teammates and your coach's desire to have you around, right? You're not a sulker on the bench going, I should be out there, not, you know, I'm better than Susie. Instead, when Susie comes to the plate, you're standing up and you're cheering for her, right? Those are the kind of people I want.
One quote we referred to a lot, it's on our t-shirt from last year, and they laugh because I always put a quote on a t-shirt each year, but I always
Okay.
refer back to it. It's not like just some fad thing, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
This year's trust and consistency, but last year was how you do anything is how you do everything.
Okay.
So if you're the one that just leaves jobs for other people, then you're probably the teammate that was pouting playing sports when you weren't playing,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And and then when you do that, if there's a couple things. Sports are obviously the focus is on win lose, but if you can create win-win mentality, right? You actually win more than you lose because there's no
Mm-hmm.
animosity. The business world, there's really no win-lose if you all play together.
Correct. Correct.
Even with competitors,
Yeah.
technically.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I agree. I agree. I never wish my competitors ill, as long as everyone's respectful of each other,
Right,
which
right.
which which frankly, I can't think of a time I've really been in a situation where when they haven't been. Um, you can, in fact, we've had a competitor come into one of our markets recently, and it's got us doing some things, Paul, that I would argue are highly valuable to our customers, highly valuable to our employees, and highly valuable to me as the owner that I would probably not have done if the competitor hadn't come into the market. And it's not that I don't care about those other things, of course I do, but it kind of shined a light a little bit on, oh boy, we better kind of step some of these things up if we're going to compete. That competition can really be in this case, a win-win-win all the way around. So I completely agree with you.
Well, and I bring that back to culture. We have people that aren't afraid to speak up if there's bad behavior on the team.
Okay.
We just look at each other and say, that's not how we do things
Do
around here.
things. Mm,
Now going as far as competitors, if I watch someone that's really good warm up a different way or or lead off a base a different way, well, I want to emulate a new behavior based on something positive
yeah.
someone else is doing. It keeps you fresh, just like you said with your new. You don't want a culture where people say that's how we always have done things. Okay, that's great in the past, right?
Yep.
I mean, we don't still take horse and buggy everywhere because that's the way it was always done for the majority of our country. We now use automobiles and maybe driverless ones soon. So
Very soon. Very soon.
you know, uh, again, so many lessons. I was going to give a topic to talk about, but we just kind of came up with our own topic here. So
Boy,
I'm
that
not
never
too worried.
happens with us, right?
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. Any closing thoughts on catching up in all this?
No, no. I mean, you kind of said earlier what, we're living what we preach. Um, we continue to, and probably not probably in more ways than the last podcast we were on. It's, I just keep. I was having a conversation the other night. This is where this is coming from, with someone who was like that. This is a close friend of mine and lives a long ways away, but we connected recently. We went to Game 6 of the Celtics Knicks game in
Oh, so
Madison
you're
Square Garden.
practically brothers. Yeah.
So we went to that, it's one of those things. He's like a high school friend. I might not have talked to him for 6 months or a year, and I might not see him for five. But when we get together, it's like we never left. You know what I mean? It's just
Right.
one of those kind of friendships. Well, when I saw him, he goes, "Now, how many subways do you have now?" And I told him, and he goes, "Oh my God, I thought you had like five. I think last time I asked you, you had like five." And I go, "Well, then that would have been a few years ago." And look, it's not my identity either. I don't let, there's so many other things to talk about. My family, the world, my friends, whatever. But it's not something I wear on my sleeve out in the everyday world. And he goes, well, how do you do it? How do you find the time? How do you, you know, and and he was basically saying, look, I know since I've talked to you about that, I haven't done anything differently. And it's just a different way of viewing the world. And I'm not saying I'm right and he's wrong or vice versa, although I know it's right for me. And this is someone I love and respect and care about. What I'm getting at is, you know, there's plenty to do out there if you decide to do it. And and there's nothing more gratifying than going after it, despite the pain that it'll inevitably bring to you in some ways.
Right.
Um, and you've been doing that in a way, and I shot you a note last weekend or whatever because you were on my mind, and it was just from the heart, and that's between us, obviously, but and I'd like to think that I'm doing that. I know I'm doing it, and the difference in the joy, not the result. The result. is different too. It's not what I'm talking about. The difference in the joy and the excitement and the hop and the step I see from people who are doing that and those who don't, it's just, Paul, it's just everything. And I can't, and it doesn't come without pain and suffering and sacrifice and things, situation where you just go, oh God, I can't, I'm dealing with this. But the growth and the maturity and the understanding and all those things that you gain from it are just so far above and beyond not doing it. And you're doing it and I'm doing it. I love to see people doing it. And you know, that's what I'm continue to do and glad we're doing and happy about. And what we do here is part of that, and I miss it.
100%. And if you ever got out of the franchise business, you would just build something else because that's been the true joy for you.
Paul, no doubt about it.
That's your identity building.
Building and doing these things that I love. I mean, as you know,
Yeah.
I've had opportunities to get out. I've had, offers and things thrown
Yeah.
at me. And my response, my wife and I response has just been, well, all we would do is turn around and invest in something and start doing the same
Right.
thing all over again. Why we're already doing, so you're right. I'm not looking for some sort of the trap door out. It doesn't mean every day is great. It's not. But I'm just gonna find myself back doing these things because this is where the meaning, the purpose, and I've got two children who look up to me, and I've got a grandchild on the way. I have a responsibility to show them directly what I believe is the foundation to the path forward that's going to bring them the most adventure and joy and fulfillment in their lives as well. And I'm not doing it from a couch.
So let me end it with this. So I feel like someone's successful people, their identity isn't in their result. The identity is in how they get to that result.
Yeah. Yeah, Paul. I like that. I like that. It's so easy to fall into the trap to think that the result is my identity. And it is a trap because number one, let me tell you, chances are that result is going to have some ebbs and flows to it. It can change all the time. And when you
It
wear it,
should change. It
it,
should
it should
change.
change. It should change.
18
Fair enough.
versus 48. I mean,
Fair
my
enough.
gosh.
Fair enough. And
All right,
if you
man.
yeah, go ahead. No, we'll pick it up. It was great, great getting together.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
You got it.
Bye.
Bye.